Ladies and gentlemen, what is going on here? Justin, thanks for clicking on today's video. I appreciate it. Pete has decided that being on top of this table is where he needs to be when I shoot videos, so who am I to argue with a little Boston Terrier with an attitude, okay? There's nothing I can do about it. His bite is bigger than his bark, I guarantee you, so I'm not gonna mess with him, and if you guys don't mind, I think Pete's gonna be hanging out on top of the table for a lot of these videos. I'm hoping that maybe he'll lay down, maybe he'll decide that he doesn't want to just stare deep into my soul as I'm talking, but what do you think, Pete? Are you just gonna stare at me, or do you want to like relax and lay down? Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna do a video today that I have not done in so long. A what I've been watching video. I think it's probably been, I don't know, 3 months since I've done one of these what I've been watching videos. I'm gonna go through today everything that I watched in August. I didn't watch a whole lot, but I did watch enough, I think, to justify a whole video, some things that I'm pretty excited about. And before we get started, first of all, like this video. I'd really appreciate it. It helps out so much. Comment down below. Let me know if you've seen any of these things that I'm gonna be talking about today, as well as turning on notifications. I mentioned this in my last video. A lot of my regular viewers have messaged me on Instagram or in the comments saying that they didn't even know about a lot of the most like more recent videos that I posted. So be sure to turn those notifications on. Be sure you your phone, your app settings are allowing notifications from YouTube, so don't miss out on any of my future uploads. And let's go ahead and dive into what I've been watching. I use Letterboxd. I'm sure you guys, most of you are familiar with the Letterboxd app. It's a really cool way to keep track of everything you watch. You can leave reviews there. You can make your own like rankings, and it's really cool. Just download Letterboxd. I promise if you're a big movie fan, you'll really dig it. So I've logged everything that I watched in August. So before I forget, I want to let you guys know that I watched White Lotus, which is an amazing show on HBO Max. It was a 6 or 7 part miniseries written and directed by Mike White, who's done he's done so many amazing things. Super talented writer and director. He's written many things that you are familiar with and are probably a fan of. He wrote and directed every episode of this limited series. We got Alexandria Daddario, we have Steve Zahn, Sydney Sweeney. The cast is amazing. It tells the story of several groups, several different unrelated groups of people, these rich, well-to-do people who are all staying at the same beach resort called White Lotus. And it tells this crazy story of all these intertwining things that happens between all of the employees at the resort and all of the crazy guests. Now, this isn't a spoiler, but at the beginning of the show, one of these guests sort of tells, he's chatting it up with somebody in the airport. He looks like he's been through it. It's really rough. He's having a rough day, and he mentions to this couple that he's speaking of that somebody died. They're literally loading a body in like a wooden coffin onto the plane, but you don't know who died. So throughout the whole series, you're kind of wondering, like, one of these people's gonna die. Who's it gonna be? And it's a really fun show. It's pretty lighthearted overall, although so there's some pretty explicit, some violence, some pretty like highly like sexual and drug related things throughout the show. This isn't a like PG rated show whatsoever, but it generally keeps a pretty lighthearted tone. But it's a really fun show. If you're a fan of Steve Zahn, Sydney Sweeney, Alexandria Daddario, Mike White, it's just it's beautifully shot. The locations are amazing. They're in this just tropical paradise. The manager of the there's so many cool aspects. Just watch White Lotus. I give it a high recommendation. I almost thought about reviewing it. The director of the entire resort is just hilarious. I think he's an Australian or New Zealand guy. What a great lead performance from that guy. All the performances are great. Stifler's mom is in it. She plays a great character, but I definitely recommend watching White Lotus. I know a lot of people have been talking about it, and I definitely give it my stamp of approval. And now we just have a handful of things. I didn't watch, like I said, a whole lot. I started out on the 3rd with The Green Knight, which I gave 2.5 stars. It's a gorgeous. I'm not going to do spoilers on any of these. Green Knight is one of those movies where you really have to know what you're expecting. It's a beautifully directed, visually stunning, slow burn. I've heard some people call it a fantasy epic, but it's really more of a character study with a lot of fantasy and like sort of fantastical elements. But you don't have fire-breathing dragons or crazy creatures or anything like that. It's a really low-key, atmospheric story based in the Arthurian legend of King Arthur. David Lowery also did a ghost story. He did Ain't Them Bodies Saints. If you've seen those movies, you kind of know his style. It's really slow burn. Basically, the story is Dev Patel plays Lord Gawain. I don't know how to say his name. It's part of the Arthurian legend, the Knights of the Round Table. Basically, kind of a lazy guy, kind of a piece of shit guy. He just drinks and hangs out in brothels. He's not really a knight or anything, but one day he gets a chance to prove himself, or so he thinks he's getting a chance to prove himself, when the Green Knight walks into the round table area on Christmas night and basically says, hey dude, I give you the opportunity to strike me with one single blow, do whatever you want, kick me in the shins, chop my head off, stab me in the, do whatever you want, but just know that 1 year from today, I get to return the identical blow. Well, he goes next level and decides to cut the Green Knight's head off. So in the movies, by the Green Knight's rules, and 1 year from now, the Green Knight will cut his head off. He's ultimately set himself up for his own fate. I'm not going to tell you whether or not that happens. I'm going to let the movie unfold should you want to see it. But there is some really cool, like, it's so amazingly well shot, it's almost worth it just for the cinematography, but it is extremely slow, and it'll definitely challenge you to really pay attention, but there's some cool themes, there's some cool scenes. I would recommend seeing it. You just gotta know you're in for a slow burn. I did do a full review, a non-spoiler review. I'll link that down below. I've actually done reviews for almost everything that I'm gonna be talking about today. Next up was Hunter x Hunter. I did this for my very first episode. This video needs some love, by the way. The very first episode of Lost in the Shuffle, which is a series that I cover movies that I think more people need to see. And Hunter x Hunter is one of those movies. It stars Nick Stahl, Devon Sawa. I don't want to spoil too much, but this family that lives out in the middle of nowhere with threat of a wolf. There's a killer wolf that's been stalking this family. Devon Sawa's character takes out one evening to try to kill the wolf because it's threatening the family, or so they think it's a wolf. And this sets off just a bunch of crazy events and leads to one of the most insane and graphically brutal endings to a movie I've seen in a very, very long time. I highly recommend watching Hunter x Hunter. Put it at the top of your list. It's an amazing movie. Next up was a limited series on Netflix. This is another one I highly recommend. I did a review on this one. This is a 6 or 7 part series. I can't remember how many episodes, but Rosa Salazar, Catherine Keener, Eric Lang, Jeff Ward, good cast. This one's extremely bizarre and really hard to describe, but to make a long story short, we have our lead character. Filmmaker heads to Hollywood in the early 90s, it does take place in the 90s, to make her movie debut, but tumbles down a hallucinatory rabbit hole of sex, magic, and revenge. Basically, some guy promises to start her career for her, fund her movie, she can write, direct her movie. She ends up getting screwed over, and the option that she takes for revenge is through Catherine Keener's character, who plays this spooky dooky witch. And this sets, I'm not even gonna, just watch this. This is another one. There's a lot of these things on today's video that I'm just gonna tell you to just go watch. This show is insane. It's got amazing body horror. It's got great performances. It's a truly original story. It's based on a novel, but this isn't part of a franchise. This isn't a reboot. This is an original story that is so cool. That's one of the things I love about a lot of the things I watched this month. We have The Green Knight. You have Hunter x Hunter, you have brand new Cherry Flavor. These are all new and original stories that I really want you guys to watch. I recommend strongly everything on this list. Check out brand new Cherry Flavor. It's amazing. It truly is an amazing show. It's super gross. It's got something for the gore hounds. It's got something for the 90s fans. It's got a great soundtrack. It's amazing. Just watch that show. Brand new Cherry Flavor. Next, Friday the 13th, I decided to watch A New Beginning for my Friday the 13th watch, which I haven't seen in a long time. Loved it. I love that movie. It might be one of my favorite in the entire series. Just so much amazing shit in that movie. The dance sequence in the bedroom. You have the damn enchiladas. Must be the damn enchiladas. You have that scene. You have candy bar guy getting fucking murdered with his candy bar. What's not to love about Friday the 13th, A New Beginning? Love it. Next up, we have The Night House. I also did a full review on The Night House as well. This is another one that I implore you guys to see. It's an amazing movie. It's actually showing in theaters right now. Who directed this one? David Bruckner, who's actually doing the new Hellraiser movie, which will be coming to Hulu, I think. There's a Hellraiser TV show coming to HBO, but David Bruckner, he also wrote Antlers. He directed a movie called The Ritual, which is awesome, and he did The Night House. It's about a woman whose husband kills himself and all of the things she uncovers about him after he dies. It's part ghost story, part thriller, part murder mystery. It's amazing. Like I said in my review, I'll link all my full reviews down below so you guys can check it out to get my full thoughts on these. But this is a movie that really has some honestly really creepy moments that you don't see too often. Very rarely do I have moments in a movie where I'm genuinely uncomfortable and creeped out, and The Night House has those sort of moments. So I can't recommend The Night House enough. I gave that 3.5 stars. Candyman 2021. I gave this one 1.5 stars. I'm so exhausted with this movie at this point. Watch my review. I am exhausted from talking to people in the comments. I gave it a spoiler alert. I gave it a negative review. Watch that review if you want. I'm so exhausted. I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I watched Candyman. Go watch my review. The Call. This was a direct-to-Shudder movie starring, what's her name? Lin Shaye. One of the more surprising people that I saw in this movie was Mike. A dude from, I knew I recognized this one actor. He had these really crazy, like, drawn-on, super defined eyebrows, and I'm like, I know those eyebrows. I recognize those eyebrows anyway, but I couldn't place it. One of the lead characters was on a Real World season. I think it was DC. Real World years ago, and I saw that. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing in this movie? But he actually didn't do too bad of a job, but this is a pretty bad movie. Just, I'm gonna let you know, it's watchable, but it's not great by any means. The average, by any means, the average rating on this one is a 2. It does star Lin Shaye and Tobin Bell. They play a husband and wife who are being tormented by a group of kids who believe that this woman, played by Lin Shaye, had something to do with one of the kids' sister's disappearance. So for years, this group of kids torments Lin Shaye, who does give an incredible performance. I'll give it that. She is fucking amazing in this movie for the little bit that she's in it. Anyway, these kids just torment her, and she just tells them, I'm not fucking going anywhere. You guys aren't going to make me leave. You know, I didn't kill your sister. I loved her, blah, blah, blah. But you don't know what happened, obviously, at least at this point in the movie. I don't want to, God, I don't know how much they gave in the trailer. I don't want to spoil it, but it does go in a direction that you won't expect. Even though I give it a low rating, I would, if you need a rainy day movie to just throw on, have a good time with, not really pay attention too much, if you're just kind of hanging out, you need a silly little movie, it's worth a watch. Just keep in mind that it's not great. It has a lot of dreamlike sequences that reminded me a lot of segments from the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. There's not a lot of gore, but there is a couple bloody scenes. Somebody ends up getting quite a bit of revenge in this movie for the things that were done to them. I'm not going to tell you who, but somebody definitely gets their comeuppance in this movie in a pretty original way. If anything else, the movie is original. At least I've never seen anything like it. Cheap thrills. This and The Call I watched back to back. I realized when I looked back at my Letterboxd, I was like, I haven't watched any damn movies this month, so I decided to watch 2 movies back to back. Cheap Thrills ended up being just a real nice surprise. You have a guy who works at like an oil changing place, and he just had a new baby. Kind of a schlubby type guy who wants to be a writer, but has gotten just caught up in life. And he ends up getting fired, and he goes to the bar to kind of drink away his sorrows, and he ends up seeing an old buddy who he hasn't seen in 5 or 6 years, and that's Ethan Embry's character. He plays like a sort of rough and tough guy. He looks kind of badass these days. I never would have expected the Ethan Embry of the 90s to end up being this sort of like, kind of like heartthrob kind of a dude, like in Devil's Candy. He's all ripped, but anyway, he sees them at the bar, and Ethan Embry realizes that they're both fall on hard times, and through circumstance, they end up meeting David Koechner's character at the bar. They're blowing lines, they're partying, they're doing coke. This guy seems, David Koechner's character has just seemingly unlimited amounts of money to hand out. And one thing leads to another in this movie where the movie just turns into a series of dares. David Koechner said just, you know, it starts out David Koechner's just kind of having fun with his money. He's like, if you go over there and make that girl at the bar slap you in the face, I'll give you $50. And then it turns out they go to the strip club, and he said, if you go up to that stripper and, I don't know, slap her ass or something stupid, I'll give you $500. If you pick a fight with this bouncer, I'll give you $700. And you can see where this is going. These guys are both down on their luck. They need money. David Koechner has all this money, and he seems to be amused by just paying these dummies to do anything. And moment by moment, things start escalating and escalating and escalating. It's actually based on a short story by Roald Dahl. Is that how you say his name? The same guy who wrote Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? I couldn't believe when I dug into this, but it's based on a short story. I think it's called The Man from Hollywood or something like that. Even Tarantino had based his last segment in 4 Rooms on this. I think a Twilight Zone episode. So this story has been told a few different times, but this is the first full-length adaptation of it I've seen. So some of you might be familiar with that short story. It goes crazy. It doesn't overstay its welcome. It's kind of silly, but honestly, all of the lead performances were really good. David Koechner, who usually plays, he played Sport in Anchorman and stuff. He's still kind of zany in this movie, for lack of a better term, but it's a more measured performance. It's a kind of a different character than I've ever seen him play before. But it definitely escalates, and people definitely get hurt by the end of the movie. So I highly recommend Cheap Thrills. I was really surprised by how much I liked that movie. So, and that's all I got. As usual, my videos are way too goddamn long. I probably could have got all these movies talked about in about 8 or 9 minutes, but I'm a rambler, so I just got to keep rambling, guys. You got anything? You got anything for the people, Pete? You got anything to say for yourself? All right. Guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I have plenty more videos coming. I ain't stopping anytime soon. Just be sure, guys, like the videos, help the channel grow, comment down below, turn your notifications on, share these videos. If you think you know somebody, friend, family, anybody who might enjoy even one of my videos or whatever, I know my content's kind of varied. Share the videos, share them on Facebook, share them with your friends and family. Help me grow the channel. Okay, I really appreciate it, guys. That is all. I think we're done here. Stay weird. Always be yourself. And I will see you in the next one. Sorry, Pete. That was a little awkward. Okay. Bye. Sorry, Pete. Bye, guys. Oh, shit.